Well, hi everyone. If you are making it into this live, then you deserve a huge award because with all the technical difficulties, I had to, yeah, who knows? I have no idea what happened, but I'm going to go ahead and just jump in to the content to get us going. And my hope is that and I'm just realizing, oh no, I do have them. Okay. I'm just realizing that I may not have all of the sources or all of my resources to give, but I can always post those later in the chat. So, first of all, I just want to say welcome. I'm assuming that nobody is here yet, but hopefully you'll have a chance to watch later with the replay. Today, I wanted to talk about why relationships matter. Over and over, I keep running into leaders who are finding that they have their teams and their teams do their practical jobs very well. What is the common denominator with most leaders that I work with is that when the team members have to interact. And so, yay, I see some of you are hopping on. Nisi, you're amazing. You get the award for following the wild goose chase. Get on. Nisi's my friend from across the big water, and we've been in a coaching group together and have loved getting to know her. So if you are in change management, she's your go-to person. I highly recommend. So anyway, I'm going to get back to relationships. Nisi, I know that you are so interested in this because you run into this in the same way that when you're trying to lead people, you can tell them what to do, but if there isn't some sort of relational connection, it's just going to be so difficult to move it forward. So in today's presentation, I just want to let you know that we're going to cover some of the neuroscience behind why our brains work the way they do and how we can better leverage that in our interactions with one another, specifically in the context of leadership. That's one of the things I really want for us to be able to go over. So first, before we can really start, I want to define what is relationship. What is connection? Sometimes that word feels a little bit like a dirty word, especially in the workplace context. In fact, I was just looking at a post um, a couple of minutes ago before we started this, and somebody said, we were all taught that we're supposed to leave all of the personal stuff at home. We avoid that. In fact, it would be faux pas to dig into somebody's personal life. And that's true. I think that's where most of us, we've come from that type of training. But the reality is that just by the very simple definition of relationship is the way that we connect. So there's okay, I'm going to call a quick timeout. I had somebody text me who's trying to get in, so I'm going to just message them real quick. Sorry, and let them know how to get in. Look at the comments and find the link. Had to set up a new one. Okay, thanks for your patience, you guys. So the reality is that relationships are simply the ways that we connect. And if you work together, you're going to connect. And so we have to start addressing the ways that we connect, even in the workplace. These connections matter. And I want to show you why they matter and how that plays out. So, just have this simple little graphic that talks about how when we have an experience with somebody, whether it's a work experience or it's a personal experience, it doesn't matter. That creates a stimulus that comes to our brain. And the very first part it reaches is the limbic system. So I'm going to do a fun hand model. This is my brain. So if you're watching, you can do this along with me. And you can imagine that there's a stimulus that comes, it hits our brain stem first, and then it comes up into the inner brain. This is what we call the limbic system, and it's made up of the amygdala, the hippocampus, and some other parts that are the gatekeepers. This is what tells us, is this information from my experience, am I going to send it up to my thinking brain? And this is the prefrontal cortex. This is this part of our brain. So this is what we're going to let represent that. And the right brain is the part that processes our emotional responses, and then the left side is our more logical. And then whatever this prefrontal cortex decides sends back down into our body through the brainstem, and that's our response or our behavior. So that's kind of the process. Here's our flow chart. And so let me show you what happens when this is happening in a relationship. So the same thing is happening, but now we have two people who are bringing their experience. It's hitting the limbic system. It's your limbic system is judging, do I let this go up or not? Now, let me tell you something. When that information gets to the limbic system, then I'm going to move this. Uh, we That's what triggers our hormones. Are they and our brain is deciding, do I push out the happy hormones or the stress hormones? Do I need to protect or is it safe? So essentially this limbic system is deciding, it's your gatekeeper. Are you safe or not? So when you think about that process, that's happening every day, and in every interaction. And then you recognize, oh, the same process is happening in the person that I'm interacting with. And their brain is deciding, is this happy hormone time or stress hormone time? And again, the reason that matters is because those hormones are going to tell your body what to do. And it always relates back to the primary question, which is, am I safe? Am I safe? And so think about the workplace. How many interactions do we have? I mean, it happens over and over. And what happens when there's a miscommunication? Or what happens when there's an avoidance, when you realize there's tension here, but nobody's talking about it? Our bodies are, and our brains are taking in that information. It's coming in to the limbic system, and the limbic system is saying, nobody's talking about this, but it doesn't feel good. And what are we going to do now? And it says, if it doesn't feel good, then stress hormone goes into the body and it causes a stress response, something like just uptightness. Sometimes our body goes into actual fight or flight. When this happens, our right brain is getting kind of some clues about what's happening down here in the amygdala, and it starts to project that out. Now, here's something I want to share with you, and it really is amazing that our right brains, the brain waves, if somebody was had a brain wave measurement over my head and we're measuring my brain waves as I'm interacting with somebody, they would see that our brain waves are not contained in our skull. They actually travel outside of our minds, sending signals, think sonar or radio signals, to the other person that you're interacting with, to their brain. So there's kind of this crisscross of messaging happening. And guess what? You have no idea. It is all subconscious. It's all happening kind of in that in between space. And I know that you've all experienced this, that when you interact with somebody, and there's just a natural connection, right? Like sometimes we call it, there was just chemistry. Like I just felt like I could say anything to that person. Well, this is what's happening neurologically, is that your right brain is scanning for safety, and when it sees another brain wave that is doing the same, and they almost have this insight into each other without a word being spoken, then that creates a sense of safety. Now, if you play it back, and what if this person doesn't feel safe and is on guard and is in fight or flight? Then, when another right brain is scanning and is realizing, oh, that person's in defensive mode, then our right brain sends the signal straight back down. The signal hasn't gotten to the left brain that's thinking logically. This is all emotional. And it sends it back down and says, nope, not safe, abort, or fight or flight. And so when you have a situation where there is miscommunication, where there's this sense of defensiveness, then you can see how workplace tension can really take off, and it can just sabotage the whole process. So that's the problem. That's what's frustrating. The good part is that we can do something to change this. And this is the amazing news for all leaders. I hear over and over that leaders avoid conflict, or leaders avoid any sort of tension over and over because they don't want to mess with it. But I also think it's because we've all been trained, stay away from emotions. The problem is that emotions are going to show up. It's all subconscious, it's automatic. So if you go back to this, we will be stimulated by different experiences. We will have emotional responses. Eventually, it gets to our thinking brain, but many times our responses have already happened, and it actually bypasses our thinking brain to the response. A lot of times when we get stimulated, we skip over the thought process, and our behavior is a result, because it simply our body sends it back down to our brain, sorry, I said that wrong. Our brain sends it down into our body, and our body responds out of the messages from the limbic system. Okay, so any questions so far? That was like a big science lesson. I hope that makes sense. If not, you can DM me. Or Nisi, we just need to have a conversation. Okay, so what do we do? What do we do? Because this is going to happen. Uh, there will be interactions that trigger our unwanted feelings and emotions. Our brains will take over. And so, how on earth are leaders supposed to address this? And I would say that that it is a leader's responsibility in the workplace. And here's how they can address it. Let me grab a quick drink of my tea. So here's what happens, or here is what a leader can do. And it really is amazing. So, the reason that our right brain starts sending these messages to those around us is because it's scared and its past experiences have taught us you can't handle this, so stop it in some way. And I think that's what happens in a lot of the workplace situations that people have had really negative experiences when it comes to dealing with conflict, and their past experience is actually stored in here in the subconscious. And telling yourself, be curious, is way up here in the left brain and doesn't do anything because we don't even get to our left brain when our amygdala is stimulated with a threat. So, what leaders can do is number one, you have to lead in getting stronger in dealing with difficult situations. Now, I wish, especially here on LinkedIn, we all want a list, a step by step guide for what I can do to handle conflict in the workplace. And I can give you a script, but at the end of the day, if your lid is flipped, because that's what happens, you get stimulated, your amygdala says, nope, we're not thinking, we're doing. So your lid flips, and then we respond out of this instead of our thinking brain. Uh, so at the end of the day, if your lid flips, all those steps are going to be pointless. And I know that many of you have experienced this. You have said over and over, I know I'm supposed to be patient. I know I'm supposed to be kind. I know I'm supposed to be organized. I know I'm supposed to have boundaries. I know I'm supposed to get curious when somebody is coming at me with a complaint, but I just can't do it. And that is because you have memories stored in here that you don't even remember necessarily, consciously, but they are driving your behaviors. So the thing that uh, is the good news is that we can access these memories in here and replace them. Now, it's really important because what's stored in here is not the memory of the event, the logical memory. You do remember those things. Uh, what's in here are the felt experiences, the emotional memories are stored here. So, if you can replace those, which neuroscience is now showing us that we can, and this is all the new science. It's really incredible. You can do some research or reach out to me, and I can give you more information on it. It's called memory reconsolidation. And so when you get in here and you start to replace the felt memories, then all of a sudden, when something triggers you, you don't flip. Your lid is not going to flip. And then the information keeps traveling up to your prefrontal cortex, to your thinking brain, and you can make rational decisions. So let's apply that to the workplace. You're in the workplace, You have 2 employees who are fighting about their, ideas, and they're both frustrated with each other, and you go in, and in the past, you may have seen this and thought, um, "I don't wanna mess with this. This is your issue," and just turn the other way. But if you have done the work to grow your capacity for connecting, which means that you are okay with big emotions because you know they are not going to hurt you. You know that that connecting means embracing someone relationally, not physically, but embracing someone as their whole selves. And every single human is going to have a big response, and every single human is going to need a place to be able to feel those experiences because emotions cannot be thought away, they have to be experienced. I am getting ready to do a leaders cohort coming up in February, and it really is geared toward leaders who are ready to start growing their capacity to stand strong in the face of really strong emotions. It's time for leaders to not just strong arm emotions and say, nope, those don't belong here. Leaders have got to start figuring out and growing their own ability to stand in the face of someone who's really sad or really angry without punishing them relationally. We have to be able to maintain the connection because as we said here, I mean, if you're going to interact with people and we want it to be done in a way that actually fosters safety, because as soon as our lids flip, then psychological safety goes out the window. So, um, yeah, if you or anyone you know is just really struggling and they're stuck in their own triggers, in they run up against something and they lose their temper like that. Um, for me, earlier this morning, I found out yesterday that I have to have a surgery. I've never had surgery before, and guess what? Today, I have been so anxious, and I keep telling myself logically, "It will be okay." But, um, getting this whole the whole LinkedIn Live thing, and it didn't work, and technology, and the whole time I'm just like, "Oh," and those things are going to happen, um, but the answer to those things, the answer to that anxiety that's there, I'm not choosing to be anxious, my body just is because it's like, "No, I don't wanna be hurt," um, is a result of some past experiences, and the number one way that I can grow and in this and to get stronger is to reach out to a safe person, and so I'm actually, as soon as I'm done here, I'm hightailing it to have lunch with a safe friend, and I can't wait because my body is saying, "Oh no, this isn't good." But the power of connecting, it it basically when I get to connect, our connections can sometimes sabotage us, but remember the right brain stuff, it can also calm us. It can also heal us. And so, in the context of work, if your workplace can become a place where it's okay to feel anxious, it's okay to be angry, now that doesn't mean that there's, that the results that we act however but those emotions are okay, and when they're embraced relationally, then it gives them a place to process and move on. So, uh, Nisi, thanks for hanging in there with me today. Ugh, it's been a crazy morning. Um, and what an exciting development to realize that we can, through connections, increase our capacity to handle the really hard realities of life. We really can. So, I'd love to tell you more. Like I said, I have a leaders cohort that's starting in February. So excited to be able to work with leaders one on one and in a group setting. Kind of, there's a combination of that. Um, and yeah, thanks for being here. Let me know if you have any questions. All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you later. Bye. Embarrassing. Uh, uh, oh, thank you. Hmm. I guess I'm still alive. I don't know why.